1 minute that changed Turkey. February the 6th, 4:17 a.m. Buildings shattered. More than 50,000 lives lost. Pain, grief, anger.
We all woke up screaming. It's a horrible situation.
A country in crisis. With so much to rebuild.
Help us, save us, they were shouting. Arms and legs were dangling out, but there was nothing we could do.
And so much still to lose.
We're scared of the following quakes, the aftershocks. If Istanbul is next, that's it.
Everything looks different now. Across southern Turkey, families are building new lives amid the rubble. A month after the devastating earthquakes, this country is facing an unprecedented homelessness crisis. 160,000 buildings collapsed or are too dangerous to go back into. More than 1 million people have nowhere to go. So they do what they can. In Adana, they sleep in sports halls and the local exhibition centre. In Iskenderun, they're living on board 2 parked trains in the railway sidings. Songül and her family have pitched a tent right outside their damaged house.
It's so important for us. Whatever happens next, even if it falls down, we will stay here. We will not go anywhere. This is our home. Everything we have is here. We're not going to leave.
The United Nations Development Programme, the UNDP, says 1.5 million people are homeless, but the true number could be far higher. The 2 quakes radiated across a huge area, affecting more than 13 million living in 10 provinces. When night falls, life becomes even harder. There's no electricity in Samandar now. Solar-powered lanterns provide the only glimmer of light.
We're scared. It's dark here. Having no electricity is a big problem. The fear, it's too big. All night long there are non-stop aftershocks. It's so hard to sleep.
And in the stillness, Songül thinks about what she's lost. It's much more than just the family home. 17 relatives were killed in the quake. Her beloved sister is still missing.
We cannot even mourn yet. My sister is under rubble. We don't know whether she was taken out or not. She may be sent to the other hospitals. We don't know. We can't reach her. We have applied everywhere we have to apply. We're waiting. We can't start mourning. We can't even find our lost one.
When the ground began to shake in the early hours of February the 6th, there was panic. Huge parts of this city, Antakya, were left in ruins. Many buildings had design flaws which made them vulnerable to earthquakes.
This is a well-to-do area, it's close to the park, and there are lots of modern buildings. All of them should have stayed up, but look, this one is so new that you can still see the stickers in the glass on the top floor. Nobody had even moved in there yet, and yet it is still toppled to the ground.
And that's led to anger that more wasn't done to strengthen them before they fell. In Iskenderun, we met Shukru Pekdemir, who asked us to look at the ruined block next door to his home.
The building collapsed with the first wave of shock. It was flattened. Screams were coming from the inside. Help us, save us, they were shouting. Arms and legs were dangling out, but there was nothing we could do. Negligence elevated this to such a degree.
Dereceye getirdi bu olay.
Savcıya şikayetçi olduk.
So what's happened is more and more people have joined this conversation at the building, and they are telling us that some of them lived here, they knew it was dangerous, they said that they'd filed a complaint. So what we're doing now is finding out why, finding out what they saw, what they said, and trying to pull together some evidence of the conversations that they had with the person who owned this building.
Salih Koyunsu and his family were inside when it collapsed. It went backwards, and they survived by climbing out of the front.
The owner didn't bother calling us, and he didn't ask whether we were okay or not. I called the owner myself and had a brief argument. The owner never visited the site or did anything else for that matter.
Shukru showed us proof of his official complaint on the government website. The columns have cracked. No one has shown any interest. I request your attention before any loss of lives.
Kolonlarında taşıyıcı...
We complained numerous times to Cimer there were serious cracks on the columns, the load-bearing columns, but no one paid attention. Currently, I know give or take 8 were killed. Cimer didn't show any interest.
That's because only the property owner has the power to move things to the next stage. The tenants and the neighbours are now bringing their own legal case against the landlord they say has failed them.
There's clearly a lot of anger from the survivors who lived in that building, from the neighbours as well. So now we're going to go and speak to the landlord, to the person who owned it, to get his side of the story.
We spent a week trying to get answers.
Alo.
İyi günler, Zeki Bey'le mi görüşüyorum?
Ziggy, the middleman who collected the rent, gave us a number for Mehmet, who residents said owned the building. But when we talked to him, he insisted it was his son, Ismail. Through Ziggy and Mehmet, we offered Ismail repeated chances to talk to us and explain why he didn't fix the dangerous structure.
There we go, camera's on.
He didn't reply. Legal cases are dealt with locally, so there's no overall number for how many have been launched so far against building owners. But more than 600 people, including contractors, are being investigated. The remains of homes far too damaged to ever live in again are being pulled down now. But this part of the country isn't the only place with dangerous buildings. Istanbul, Turkey's biggest city. Officially, it's home to 15 million people, but could be as many as 20 million. Now, the race is on to get the city ready.
We spotted this patch of waste ground and wondered if this had been a building that was demolished. And we spotted Mesut on the street and asked him. But in fact, this is Mesut's building. He's lived here for 15 years, but he's just moving out, as is everybody else, because this block has failed its earthquake test, it's not safe, and it's going to be demolished.
This is our home, Mesut tells me. He's just back from the earthquake's epicenter in Kahramanmaraş, where he went to look for trapped family members.
A relative called and we all woke up screaming. It's a horrible situation.
This building failed its earthquake resistance test last year. That means it has to be knocked down by law.
The situation wasn't resolved due to rejections from the neighbors. The municipality had sent us written warning about it. We knew that our electricity and water was going to be cut off. We were going to move from here, but the quake happened and it all became a shambles.
We have buildings here that have very particular features that you can look at and you know whether or not that makes those buildings dangerous in the case of an earthquake.
So for this type of buildings, we have some structural irregularities. For example, we have some overhangs here, some soft stories, and also we have some short column here. So these are the actually typical problem of the Istanbul's building stocks.
In simple terms, soft stories are ones that are weaker than the floors above them. Short columns aren't a recommended feature for construction in earthquake areas. Both affect the strength of a building under pressure. From north to south, this is a country in shock. Rebuilding will take time. Healing will take even longer.
You can't deal with devastation on a scale like this in days or even in weeks. The impact of this is going to be felt by people here in southern Turkey for years.